environment.
Okay, so what I hear you say from what you've picked out is it's very important to, once you know the child, is to still be very intentional in the kind of things you expose them to, including schools. Like if you're to take your child to a school, don't just choose any, try to find one or any learning program that will actually enhance, will give a child that opportunity to be discovered and supported in their own way. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, so where are you located, Patricia?
I'm in Imbuya.
Oh, you are in where? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So do you have, like, what do you do currently? Because that was the first question asked in the, because did you relate with a problem that she was explaining in the video? And how have you dealt with it currently? Because you said we need, but then what happens if you don't find it? What can you do? You as a parent. I don't want to put you in a spot. You're free to share your views or not. But just so you know, we have a center in Muyenga program that does that. Just in case you're stuck, you can always reach out. We can support you to find something that can help you access that. That's our job. That's really our goal. That was my point. Anyone else? Thank you, Patricia, for your participation. Anybody else? When you watch the video, what maybe someone share what were the results of the assessment that you did for your kids? What do you think? Because for now we're just basing on what we think there. Anybody willing to share what they discovered when they used the assessment and how we are going to use that to probably set some goals, or what insights they've got out of that for their kids? Or you didn't? Yes, Grace.
So I didn't get to do the strength thing yet, to know which part they fall in. Although sometimes I imagine like they're so young, like will I find, I don't want to also like put them in a box of my perspective, because sometimes I see things and sometimes other people see other things.
That's true.
That, you know, so that's I haven't done that yet. On the other hand, I think what stood out was just the creativity in learning, and like you, probably I'm inclined to the lecture style. I like reading, and I'm inclined to that. But my children are active as well, so I think it's trying to create that balance. My challenge is, so at the moment I'm working. I do some online work, but finding like if I was a teacher, I'd have to probably have like a lesson plan. But now as a parent, I'm working, so I don't have necessarily a lesson plan, but just like how to get more ideas of things to do to cause the desire to learn. So that for me, because like in your video, you know, they were doing numbers, okay, or math, and just that kind of creativity in saying, okay, we have okay, the TV is off at this point, it's now playtime, but to be able to have that kind of thing to pull out and say, okay, sweetie, now let's do the matching of the numbers. Can you identify this and place it over the right number? And in a fun way. So that for me is my challenge, how to find that kind of arrangement without buying a whole homeschooling package.
Like without, so what I hear you say is you would appreciate if you had a tool, like a self-guiding tool that you would use to still help the child at home keep engaged and interacted without really over supervising them. They're still learning, you're doing your work somewhere, but you've given them something to keep going for themselves. Is what you say?
There's that aspect, but I also, since I work at home, I do have the time and the ability to do some teaching to some extent. So for now, the easiest is, of course, Bible, because you can walk into Book Point, pick Bible stories, we can sit down and do some reading, and we can, print out, from those online Sunday school lessons, you can print out the picture, people can color. We have some Play-Doh lying around, people can touch, but because learning is also systematic,
Yeah.
so that idea of if for instance you work with schools, do you already plan out some things like in the holiday that my kid can be learning this particular age, and you just help me, walk with me in terms of this is already pre-planned, all you have to do is peruse through these things. Do you have these items? Let's go along and do something like that.
So actually, that current
there, like
COVID, we have something we call the Pendo Care Learning Box, which is what Harvard endorsed as one of the best self-study tool that anyone can use, whether teacher or what. You don't have to be in a school to do that. So it's called a Pendo Learning Box. It comes with a guide that can guide you to literally systematically guide your child in engaging while they are learning, and it comes also the tools you need. So you have a monthly subscription. We just keep sending it for you for a month, depending on what package that you want. So if you want more details on that, let me just type in here my email address. We can have a chat after this. But yeah, we have those tools that can help people. And so far, we've Helen is one of the people that has used our box. And you've seen Michaela. When Michaela, maybe let her, Helen, I don't want to put you on a spot, but you want to share your experience. Will you unmute yourself, please?
Yes.
Yeah. Helen.
So I've been using the Pendo Care tools, and
Hello? I can't hear you.
I subscribed for that learning box, but because I work with them on the weekend and they have time with the teach them. But then what I've noticed is that there are certain things that I really don't know about my child, but I get to see when she's learning with the teacher, and they do a lot of it's like they're playing, but then they're actually learning. They're teaching them through the Bible, things about the Bible. They're teaching them about even discipline. Then there's also the academic bit of it, and there's a lot of actually it's almost every stage seems like they're having fun. Even when I listen to them interacting with the teacher, it's really very, I don't know, I think you'd enjoy it as a parent if you are doing that yourself, if you have the time. Yeah, so it would be worth a try. But then the child really gets to explore themselves, learn more about themselves, discover their potential, because there are questions that the teacher is always asking the child and engaging the child and helping them really think through certain things about themselves, So basically what we are discussing, all the things we really want for our kids, I think that the Pendo Care can help you get those tools.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. So we, at the end of the day, if you have the time to go through with, so what Helen is trying to say is for her, there are different packages. There are people that would like that, but they don't have the time. So we work out an arrangement and send them a private tutor, which one of them is is online, which is Claire. She can have her version. I don't want to put you on a spot, Claire, but you can try to explore, if you can explain how the Pendo learning box helps you to guide the children in being interactive and discovering themselves. I don't know, Claire, should you go ahead and help Grace to get to know how the tools how she can use the tools to kind of help her achieve what she wants? Claire? Right, I think she's not listening or something. Anyways, so at the end of that day, you can unmute yourself. At the end of that day, Grace, it's a step by step. And then when you do something with them one time, you don't have to be there every time. Like once you initiate it, you can give them a self-guided activity like that matching game and stuff. Those things are usually part of the books. So you introduce a concept, introduce how to use it, and then you can go on and do your stuff as they keep working with independently sometimes with themselves. So if you also want that, I said I was going to put the email address. So we can have a chat after this.
Yeah, just go ahead and give me the email or a phone number so I can call to be faster. But either way, we can talk about it. I think that's, for me, that would be helpful because it takes a lot of time for me to think about it. And you end up in a restock and there's 1,001 and you're confused. And then you're trying to age is 9, this age is now a 5-year-old. What are my learning goals? What are my...
Exactly. So the books just answers most of it.
Yes, that's what so I think that's really what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, so that free time is well spent. Okay, I see the email.
Anybody else who wants to share their experiences? You talked about something that they are still too young, and that's what people take. So why I shared the other video is for you to see that you don't have to wait. And that's sometimes a mistake that we make as parents sometimes, is we think we wait for the kids to grow up, and then we try to discover what they can do. Like now in your university, what are you good at? What can you do? But it actually starts early. Like I said, the story that I shared, those things were instilled in us when we were still young. Like by the moment we entered teenage years, we knew what to expect in case it's on you. Education is on you. If you get bad grades, you'll understand the consequences. If you get pregnant, that's your really problem. That means you've grown up. So it instilled not really fear, but instilled in us the responsibility to make decisions, it gave us an opportunity to make decisions and own up the consequences of our decisions. Those things start really early, and they start early when you know that child. Now we are all completely different. Like I said, my other sister is like the person of the party. Like she just loves to be the center of attention and everything. How you deal with her is completely different than how you deal with some of us that are really smart people, like self-smart. I don't do things to compete with others. I do things to compete with myself. So what really our parents helped us to do is not to enforce certain things or expectations that were not in line with who we really are, which is really, it has helped us so much in life. The decisions we end up making later on in life, we don't have to first call mommy or daddy and say, now what should I do? Because they instill those things earlier. So it actually is very, very important to start as early as possible. And you don't have to be, the mistake we can't make is be open-minded. Like a child can be strong in like 6 things, and then and if a child leans so much into one thing, push them, instead of focusing on their weaknesses and telling them, why we call them multiple intelligences, is don't think if a child can't crack math, then they are stupid. No, find out what they are really good at and encourage them, speak life in that area. Like, I enjoy the way you enjoy music and dance. Can we have a dance in our, one of our programs? We used to have dancing sessions just for kids, and that a child who loves to dance, they were looking so forward to that session in a week, because that's their thing. So that if the learning, that's just an example of, you don't have to be too complicated about it. It's really give a child the freedom to try as many things. You will end up just observe. The only thing another mistake sometimes we make is we delegate. Parenting is you can't delegate parenting. You have to be really involved. It's a sacrifice that you have to, you as a parent. If you keep telling maid to do this, maid to do everything, maid reads for the kid if they even do. That lady in the video, I think she shared about how when she got in tune with her child, the child started setting the pace of, mommy, I need a story, because wherever she goes for the learning, it's part of it's just she picked up her love for reading. We just placed books somewhere, and everyone is choice, the opportunity to give a child an opportunity to choose what they're in. Like present different things and let the child choose and let watch how they go along with it. Very, very important. So it really doesn't have to be that complicated. Don't be scared to be like, oh, they're just too young. Actually start as early as possible. Observe and adjust. When they are probably in their teenage years, some things will change. Adjust, keep adjusting your goals and let those goals be in line with how the child God has created them to be. You'll be amazed at what you can achieve out of that. And then push them where they are there. Because I used to, if I can stay indoors all day, that would be my hallelujah. But our mom tried to push us out of, like she tried to push me out of that. And that has helped me in life. Later on, I can do this session. It's not like a walk in the park, but I know I can do it because you get over it. Like you have to interact with people. So you get over it and get things happening. Like I don't know if I'm making sense. I want talking too much. Anybody else wants to share their insight? But that thing cuts across, not just kids. How you relate with people, how employees. It's some of us hate our jobs because we are placed in. We're like the ketchup and the ice cream. But if you position yourself whatever you do, something that really comes naturally to you, you see how you rise in life. That principle has completely opened my eyes, and we use it in every child care program that we do and the people that we deal with. Anybody else? Willing to share? Any questions? Comments? Riona? Thank you, Grace and Patricia. Kellen? Anybody? So if there are no more questions, I think we're going to end our session. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Maybe my question is, what would you like? You didn't share your expectations. I don't know if they've been met, but what anything else that you'd like to, something that you struggle with that you'd appreciate if you got help? How can you use maybe the YouTube to kind of share things that will also give you insight? I don't know. Any ideas? Yes, Helen?
Just by the way, I try to log into that link and it asks for a password. The assessment we're doing.
Yeah.
It looks like it's an Excel spreadsheet.
I changed the setting now, everyone. Let me copy and paste it again. I changed the setting so everyone now can use it. Let me try.
Oh, I think I had got the first one. Okay.
Let me try to change the settings. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that back. I had forgotten. Change. Let me paste it again, just in case. There you go. So that one, anyone, whoever has that link, they can access it. And then someone mentioned something really important is for them, they love to read. So how can they, and then their child is really active, and how can they balance between the two? Like how can they, because now they are supposed to support their kids, but they are completely, they see things in a different perspective. How can they try to strike a balance? I think one of, and then maybe my reply to that is, look for something you have in common and use that. If for you it's reading and they like to move, let me see what example. Play games that involve reading on the go. I don't know if that makes sense. So if you're teaching reading, don't teach it using just the book. If you don't know how, some of the Pendo activities actually do that. Like, yes, the child is learning how to read, but actually they're not just sitting and listening to me telling them this is A, this is B. We're actually on the move. You're jumping from one letter sound to another. You're making words while jumping from one letter. So you can see that actually for you, you're doing the reading part, but actually the child is also engaged and involved in their own way, and they don't even know that they are learning how to read. So that try to find the way you find a balance is one, try to find something else you have in common, not just reading. You might be shocked that if when you do those tests, you can even do it for yourself and see what things you have in common with your kids and try to use those as avenues to reach them. You might end up all liking gardening, for example. So let the kid likes gardening and you like reading, then try to get books in line with gardening and do practical things alongside gardening. So you can see that there are 3 ways you're using to get to the end goal. It's not just a one way. Don't so much be rigid in we have to read. There are some kids that they just can't sit for 2 minutes, and it's okay. So figure out how. Okay, it's okay to help them regulate themselves, but don't be too rigid. Don't be too rigid. Thank you, Riona. Don't be too rigid on the how. Be flexible on the how, as long as it's getting you to the end goal of where you want to go. I don't know if that really makes sense. Honestly, the learning box helps with that. I think.
So it makes sense. But I think I'll go with Leon and say probably the next step would be to try that seminar, even if it's an online one, and you just show maybe what's in the box, how to use the things in the box. If you have that kind of dilemma, this is how you could just sample, and have the book on the gardening and the book on the, I don't know what, but
So
what's in the book that somebody is sampling in the seminar, it's hands-on as well.
okay.
Because as you've been.
So maybe we could do a reading, how to teach your child reading in different ways. Would that help? Starting with that. How to actively teach your child reading, maybe we'll start with that. Focus and see how we can spread that.
I think
Yes,
reading, that seems like a skill. Is that what you were looking at? Is that what you meant? Because it's more of, I'm thinking more of how do you create an atmosphere of, you know how you look back on life, and you say, okay, these are things that happened naturally in my childhood. They were not forced things per se, but they happen naturally in my childhood. But I keep hearing, even you, Jill, I've had so many people, they keep talking about how, like, have a learning environment, have a learning atmosphere. But I still don't get, what does that mean? Okay, I know there's the idea of, okay, you be, I think you talked about it even now, that children don't do what we tell them, they do what we do. Like, they become more really what we really are as well. So it's not really an idealistic thing. And like you have said, it is ideas based, but not idealistic. I hope you get what I mean. So like you've said, there's a sense in which the home, even when your child goes to school, even if it's not a homeschooled child, the home has to become the word that's coming to my mind is robust. A place where life is happening, where there's, but the truth is, when it comes to the practical bit of making a home, for example, you talked about the planning and setting goals, the bridge. And in my head, I'm thinking, I get that, and I keep hearing it from people, but I would really appreciate some help on how does that happen? It's probably very simple things, but how does that happen? So for me, I was thinking not necessarily even how to read per se, because I know there are very many different things there, but yet in terms of atmosphere, the atmosphere of the home, how can a mom or a dad create an atmosphere in the home that gives that kind of robust, rich experience, and also putting in mind that people usually maybe they don't have as much money, to take people to things, you know, like for example, if your child is in 20 clubs, you know, explore what you said about us exposing them. And I hear that and I'm like, yeah, but you know, there's also a reality of how as a family, what is our budget? So are there things that I can do in budget that are in the home? Okay, you may tell me like, okay, maybe you try to host people. I don't know anyway, but I'm just thinking like, I would appreciate you thinking about being someone who knows how children learn, what excites them, and then thinking about, okay, how do I help parents in building that kind of atmosphere in their homes? What are some of the tips I can think about? And then even principles, not just tips, because you know, principles may help us to hold on longer, even when we feel like we want to give up. So that's what I meant. I don't know if it's helpful now to understand it.
Let me try to say what I think you've said and correct me if I have read or whatever. So what I hear you say, for you, it's the practical elements of what involves in building that bridge. Like how can you find ways of making a home and not specifically how can you still make a home an informal learning, not when like naturally, like that informal learning that I talked about, like you don't have to be structured and everything. How can you find ways of ensuring that that child is still thriving at home in a very natural way? Like what can you do? How can you set up your home for it to encourage lifelong learning without you being involved all the time? Is that what you mean? Like what exactly that exposure will be? Okay, all right, okay, thanks for that feedback. We have 10 minutes to go. Anybody else who wants to, from maybe just a little feedback of why I shared the other video as well, is the lady in the video did not wait. When the kid came back home, she created an environment of continuous interaction. If you would hear from what she kept saying, is they have conversations around how has your day, or if a child comes up with an answer, instead of saying, wait on that, I need to first finish cooking. No, she leans into what the child is trying to, conversation she's starting with. And she's like, you remember she said, oh, let me just go along with this. They're at the party and a child doesn't even first ask for permission. Before you know it, she's at the stage modeling, and the parent encouraging that confidence instead of, she's like, oh my goodness, that was very confident. So you're now building a principle of self-awareness and like, oh, you're getting out of your comfort zone, highlighting the good, the risks that kids take. That instead of saying you're a bad girl or shame upon you, identifying some things that kids actually end up doing individually, and you're like, I didn't know you could. That's very good thinking. So what do you think about that? Making it open, interaction, big. And honestly, if there is one thing, reading is not, and I think people have put a different thing about what reading is. When I meant a reading session, is actually the inside would be, is do I have to sit down with a book for the child to read? No, like not that systematic reading. So the reading workshop might be giving you tips on, if I'm on a trip, how do I still help the child to be a lifelong learner? If they start reading posters along the way, how do I go along with it? We have newspapers. How can I pick a story and we talk about it? What do you think that means? How would you deal with that? Imagine you're in their situation. What tip scenarios? Because honestly, if you want, yes, you may not have, and I say, if you don't have the money for exposing activities and clubs and stuff, exposure, instead of watching cartoon, expose them with, if just place a book, don't force it, just place a book about what interests them. If it's cooking, let them just see pictures. Reading doesn't have to be just text all the time. If you read with them, you're modeling that actually, the more if someone asks you a question, you're saying, I don't know, I need it at that, let's find out, go to the internet. That's part of reading. It's everyday life. It's not so pre-programmed. Playing games as you move in a taxi or whatever. Let's spy this. Those things are in the Like we kind of broke it down into an informal way. That's what, because I've done it with parents and it was an eye opener. That's why I was suggesting it. Not necessarily that it's going to be teaching you how to systematically teach reading as a teacher or teach this text kind of reading, but giving you tips on how you still support that life learning natural way of life at home. But then I also get what you mean is outside reading. Then what else can you do? She mentioned exposing kids to various. I know each one of you has a friend. If your child is into art or something, you have a friend you know, a friend's friend that loves art. Take them and they spend a day with them. See how they interact, or like let them just experiment. People that like woodwork and stuff, throw them in like practical things. Sometimes you may not have an end goal, but just a child to explore and come and tell you what they have, how they have worked around that, like how what they've inside they've got out of experience. What was so exciting about that? Where would you like to go next? Like it doesn't really cost money that much for you to do that if you can't. Most of the you can't really get away with. Yeah, if you can't travel, honestly, reading is the best way to expose a child. Not this, like if a child, I've just seen that's one thing that many sucks people, that because then the learning doesn't stop with you. Like now it's time to learn. Now a child can read. The only principle you insert is what you read. Is it benefiting you or not? And I think you hint about the discipleship. The discipleship really is a long list of things like structure, discipline. How do you get kids to love to work? Problem solving. How do you engage kids in being creators, interdependent, instead of you making the decisions at home every time? I used to plan. I'm a planner. Like I used to plan how our week would go at home. Who is going to do what and what? That role was given to me, and I was fine with it. I rolled with it, and that helped me later in life. If you know a child loves sport, let them be the ones to come up with what sport you do as a family every month. What sport can we do? Give them those roles so that it's not always you planning for what that family is going to be doing. I don't know if that helps me. All right. Unless anybody else has anything, we have to come to an end. We have 3 minutes and we need to stop. So anybody else? Thank you everybody for turning up. And please reach out with our WhatsApp if we have another seminar. And unlike the Facebook page, we have, when you do the WhatsApp, I'll send you the link. I like the YouTube channel, and keep giving us feedback on how we can support, because that's really our focus. Yeah, parents. So see you guys. Hopefully the next seminar. Right.